What if you could take a rough idea, something you scribbled on a napkin, and hand it to a team of AI agents that do everything that a real product team does? A PM would write a PRD, a researcher would validate the market, the designer would create a spec and design a prototype, and then the engineers would build the thing. That's exactly what I've built. And today I'm going to show you the entire run from a single sentence idea to a working application live in real time. No cuts, no cherry picking, just the raw output of what happens when AI agents participate in your product development process. This is not a replacement for your product teams. If you're watching this and think, oh, great, I can fire my PMs and my designers, you're missing the point entirely. This is an accelerator. And if you watch to the end, I'm going to tell you how to get access to the code so that you can try it yourself. For those who don't know me, my name is Jason Sear, and I'm currently the VP and head of design for both Cisco security and AI businesses. I've spent 25 years learning to build software that people actually want to use. This channel, it's where I share the things that I've found to actually work. It's for designers, it's for product managers, and it's for engineers who care about creating impact, not just shipping features. If any of that resonates with you, maybe consider subscribing. All right, let's get right into it. So look, I think we have a real chance right now to fundamentally change the way product teams do work. And I don't mean incremental improvements. I mean like really rethinking where we all spend our time. Every product team I've ever been on runs through roughly the same life cycle. There's a problem, an idea for how to solve the problem, generate a product requirements document, a PRD. We do some research to make sure that we're going in the right direction. We design, we do some more research, we build it. And most of the time, we spend way too long on the scaffolding, the documents, the specs, the alignment artifacts, and not enough time on the two things that actually matter: deeply understanding the problem and getting something in front of real customers as fast as possible so that we can learn from it. That's the insight behind what I've built. What if AI agents could compress all that scaffolding, not as a gimmick, but as a real pipeline? An agent that thinks like a product manager, an agent that approaches problems like a researcher, a design agent, an engineering agent, each one producing real artifacts, not summaries, not bullet points, but actual PRDs, actual research plans, prototypes, and technical architecture documents, so that your team can skip straight to the part that matters most: judgment, taste, and customer contact. I call it AgenticPod, just like the pod model for product teams. So let me walk you through the architecture real quick before we do a live run of how it works. The AgenticPod is a multi-agent pipeline. Here's the flow. Stage 0 is essentially the intake. I give it a new problem to explore or possibly a new idea. It could be as simple as one sentence. The system structures it into a formal idea document: target users, core problem, proposed solution, and success metrics. Once I'm happy with that, then it moves to the product management agent. That takes the structured idea and it writes a first draft product requirements document, a PRD. We're talking user stories, requirements, scope constraints, success criteria, all the stuff a good PM would produce. Once we're happy with the PRD, then it moves to the research agent, which creates a research plan. What do we even need to validate? What are the risks? What does the competitive landscape look like? How are we going to run that research? Then it moves to the design agent, which produces a prototype specification of UI components, interaction patterns, information architecture, and then actually designs it and produces a HTML, JavaScript, CSS prototype. At that point, if we want to take that design into Figma, it's as easy as asking it to send it to Figma, and it moves it into Figma where you can tweak that design. Once you're happy with the design and the prototype, and you've probably put that in front of customers to test it, then you can move to your engineering agent. And it starts by writing the technical spec, and then ultimately generates a backlog. Architecture decisions, tech stack, implementation plan, all prioritized, ticket ready, and ready to build. You can then even just have the agent build it. Each stage has quality gates. The output of one feeds into the next. And at every stage, I, the human, can review it and approve it at every step, or I can just let it run to the end. The key insight here is that each agent has a role-specific prompt. That makes it think like that discipline. The PM agent doesn't just summarize things, it thinks about scope and trade-offs and user value. The design agent thinks about hierarchy and affordances and visual systems and usability. All right, so I'm excited now. I'm going to show you how it works. So here's the idea that I'm going to feed into the system. And notice I'm giving it a problem, not completely a solution. So what I'm going to give it is the problem that distributed teams waste hours every week in synchronous stand-up meetings that don't scale across time zones. Status updates get buried in Slack, blockers go unnoticed, and managers have no clear pictures of where things stand. I'd like to use AgenticPod to create a stand-up tool that allows teams to stay connected asynchronously. So let's enter this into Claude Code and see what happens. So right away, the intake agent has taken the raw problem and structured it as something formal. It's defined or tried to define target users, the core problem, the platform to deliver it on, success metrics, etc. But it's also showing me here, and it's telling me that the LLM has left a couple fields empty so that it recommends refining it before proceeding. So I'm going to say update the idea.json with those refinements, and then proceed to the PM stage. Now the PM agent has taken that and actually produced a full product requirements document. Let me highlight what stands out. So opening the markdown file in Cursor, we see that it has re-articulated the problem. It's identified a number of jobs to be done for users. So remote engineers, their job to be done is to share daily progress without disrupting deep work or attending meetings outside of core hours. Engineering managers, their job to be done is to understand the team health, identify blockers early, and support team members efficiently. We've got an MVP scope defined, what's out of scope, anti-patterns or non-goals, and then it gets into all the key flows that we need to be able to deliver and the persona that they're for. It identifies success metrics. So an example, a stand-up completion rate of greater than 80%, percentage of team members submitting updates on scheduled days, etc. And it calls out some risks and how to mitigate those things. And then finally, acceptance criteria. This is a really well documented and formatted product requirements document. Now, is it perfect? No, a senior PM would probably push back on some of these things, and the success metrics might be a little bit sharper, and some of the user stories may be a bit generic. But you know what? It's a really good starting point, and this is genuinely useful. This is the kind of document that truly accelerates a real team's conversations instead of replacing it. So going back to my Claude Code, it's asking me if I'm ready to go to the research stage, and I'm going to say yes. Let's proceed to research. All right, it looks like it's done. Let's take a look. So once again, we're going to open up the markdown file. All right, so here we have our research plan. We have some big research questions. Some of them are things like, do distributed teams actually struggle with async status updates? Is this really the problem that needs to be solved, or something else? Will engineers actually respond to a Slackbot prompt, or will it become notification noise? What makes a blocker visible enough for managers to act on? There's a few others. It gets into the methodology. So we're going to use rapid internal user interviews and paper prototype walkthroughs. Talks about the participants and the format and the materials needed. It gives us an interview script, prototype test tasks, and even a synthesis rubric. I love this section, and I've never really thought about this before, but it's asking us what would change our mind? What are the findings that would cause a significant pivot? We already do this in Slack, Threads, Notion, etc., and it works just fine. I'd use this, but only if it was integrated with Jira or Linear or GitHub. These are awesome insights. So let's go back to our prompt. All right, now this is where it gets super interesting for me, because as a design leader, this is the stage frankly, I care about the most. So let's proceed to the design stage. Okay, so here's something that's really cool. So it came back from the initial design stage and it told me that based on its initial quality check, it was a partial pass. It actually only scored 83%. And it was because it realized that there are two missing sections. It looks like we're missing accessibility notes and also open questions. So I have the choice of patching this, rerunning the design stage, or simply skipping and proceeding. So for the case of this, I'm just gonna skip those two sections, and I'm gonna proceed. And before we do that, let's go and take a look at the actual prototype spec. So, all right, so it starts with a great information architecture for the entire application, the Slack integration as well as the web application. It details all of the core flows, with all sorts of information about the different steps of those flows and who would be performing them, where would they be performing them. We get into then really detailed individual screen specs. So the purpose of each screen, the UI elements that are on that screen, all of the different states that need to be considered on that screen, the error handling, etc. So it goes through a number of different screens that are required for this application. Really great detail. All done in like a matter of minutes, really. And then we get down to microcopy. So it gives us all of our microcopy content design for all of the different elements and screens. And then where we see the file is truncated, that was the error that the agent picked up on its own. And this is the area where we'd actually see accessibility notes and accessibility requirements, which I think is also really cool. So let's go back to our prompt, and we're going to proceed and move on to building a prototype. Okay, so it looks like it's finished all the screens. So let's take a look at how they look. And now if I open it up, actually, I can open it right in a browser, and it gives me this really nice index page. So it shows me all of the key user flows that it's created, and it has links to all the different screens. So you can link to some of the screens that are created in Slack to show you the experience in Slack. And then there's also screens that are associated with the actual product. So rather than going that way, let's go to the login screen and sort of feel what this experience is going to feel like. So you're going to sign in with Slack, and it's going to land you on the dashboard. So you can see we've got things like how many blockers, average response time, and you've got all the individual team updates. So we can filter those by folks who haven't submitted, folks who are showing blockers, all updates. If I want to look at a particular check-in update from Alex, I can open it up. I can mark the blocker as resolved. I can go in and I can look at all of my history. I can download that as a CSV. I have a settings screen. Really quite a lot of information. It's done a really good job. Really nice, clean design. Obviously, it's using the design system we're all becoming familiar with AI tools. But as we're learning, you can easily plug this into your own design systems, and it is creating things that look like your actual application. So now another thing that's really cool about this integration now, because Figma has the ability to connect Claude Code directly to Figma. So we can choose to take one of these screens. So let's say I want to actually fine tune some elements on the login screen. So I can say, can you send the login screen to Figma? And it's asking if it wants to use an existing Figma file or a new one. So let's create a new Figma. It's going to use the Figma MCP to actually take the HTML and CSS that was built as the prototype, and it is going to convert that into a Figma design file, a vector canvas, which you're going to see in just a moment. All right, so I can go and open the file in Figma. And now this is my Figma loading up, and here's the login screen. And it is actually an editable Figma file that you can go in and, tweak anything that you want to in Figma, and then you can actually send it back and have it re-implemented in HTML. So this in itself is a really great workflow for product teams. So now the next step that it's asking to proceed to is the engineering stage. So let's go ahead and proceed to engineering. So what I really like about this is it does a great job checking its own work. And I've run this a number of times, and the quality is usually pretty good. Of course, now as I'm demoing it for a video, in this case, it came back with a quality check of 67%, and it was missing parts of the implementation plan and the test plan. So I've asked it to go and patch those things. All right, so let's open up this technical spec in Cursor. And so you can see that it starts with an architecture overview, talking about the Slack API, the Node.js application, database, the web dashboard, some key architecture decisions, and then it gets into a lot of really good technical detail. Has the data model for all the core components, API integration, internal API endpoints, error responses, risks and security notes, operational risks, and a very detailed implementation plan. Now, the cool thing about this is that because it's building on every step, on very detailed, structured information, the quality remains consistent, and all of this context becomes critical for the agents to go and build this application. So the opportunity, the success of the build is based on the context and the detail of the preparation before it goes to build it. And now let's open the last document here that I want to show, which is the backlog. So it actually creates its own backlog, and for the different milestones, everything is prioritized and sized. And from this point, you can just tell the application to go and build it, and it'll spawn agents to go and build the complete application. I'm not going to show that because that'll actually take some time, and that's not the point of this video. We know how good AI has gotten at building applications, but I really wanted to get into the pipeline and show how all of this stuff fits together. So now look, I want to be really clear about what I think this is and what I think it isn't. This is not a replacement for your product teams. If you're watching this and think, oh, great, I can fire my PMs and my designers, you're missing the point entirely. This is an accelerator. It's the difference between starting a conversation with a blank page and starting with a solid first draft. Every artifact AgenticPod produces is meant to be a starting point for human judgment and not an endpoint. So now think about how your team works today. How many hours do you go through writing that first draft of a PRD? How painful is that? How long before design gets a brief that they can actually work from? How much context is lost in the handoffs? It's like a game of telephone as the ideas and the context degrades over time as it goes from team to team. AgenticPod compresses that entire front-end process. Your product manager still reviews and refines the PRD. Your designer still brings taste and craft and usability. Your engineers still make the real architecture calls, but everyone starts further ahead. Now, the one thing I've noticed, and this really surprises me, is that the structured output actually improves team alignment. When everybody is looking at a PRD, a design spec, a tech spec that all reference the same idea document, there's less room for misinterpretation. The agents create a shared language because they're building on each other's work. So if you're a PM, a designer, or an engineering lead thinking about how AI fits in your workflow, I'd really encourage you to think about it at the process level, not just at the task level. Don't just use AI to write better user stories. Use it to rethink how your entire product lifecycle flows. Oh, and as promised, if you want to try it, the link to my GitHub is in the description. Clone it, read the README, and off you go. The only thing you need is Claude Code. And if you found this useful, I'd really appreciate a subscribe. I'm going deep on AI native product workflows, what works, what doesn't, and what it actually looks like when you apply this stuff for real. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.